Hey everyone! I want to see if I can tag a couple of people. Alright, tag friends, there we go. We have a lady all the way from Australia, and I want to make sure that she knows that we're on. And then some of my other friends that asked me to remind them tonight that we were going to be doing this. So I'm going to try to get through and tag everyone. I hope you all had a great week. This is our first full week of our new license at Elder Assistance. It's been really exciting. I've been doing a lot of marketing. I'm really looking forward to getting out there and doing some more marketing. It's good. I got to see a couple of people this week that I haven't seen since, golly, March, I think. But it's been really good. We are really excited about everything that's going on. So, all right. So I just wanted to get a couple of people tagged that I knew wanted to see things tonight. So welcome to Kathleen's Craft Corner. If you're watching this as a replay on my YouTube channel, please make sure you go to the subscribe button and hit that so that you know whenever I post a new YouTube video. If you're watching this during my Facebook Live, hey, still want you to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm trying to build my YouTube platform a little bit. I'm really excited about tonight's card that we're going to be doing. I know that it's probably called something else, but I call it a shadow box card. So what it is a 5x5 card that has a piece of acetate, so it's kind of like a shadow box. Sorry about the glare. I'm trying to hold it so you can see it. So it's folded so that it looks a little bit like a shadow box. So tonight we're going to be making that shadow box card using Freezin Fun stamp set and die set from Stampin' Up. I love it. The little animals are so cute. Look at this little penguin. How cute is he? Oh my God, I love him. All right, so I've been having a lot of fun using this stamp set, making some Christmas cards. You know that I sell stuff at Lisa's Pieces in downtown Newport Richey. So we're looking forward to November. We'll be getting all of our new Christmas stuff out at Lisa's Pieces. So please go down and check out the Christmas cards and the great Christmas gifts and bags. And I'm going to be doing an assortment of different wrapping embellishments. So instead of having to use a bow for your wrapping for Christmas, I'm going to be making some of the rosettes and some of the other embellishments that I do that make pretty gift wrap. All right, so without further ado, let's get to our card. Let me get my camera down here on my workstation. And I don't know if you can notice, but I've rearranged the craft room a little bit, and my husband gets a little bit nervous when I rearrange the craft room. He says that I'm always making more room to get more stuff. So, all right, so let's get started with this card. Like I said, we're using the Freezin Fun stamps and die set. So what we're going to need is our cardstock. What I started with was a full sheet, the 8.5 by 11 Whisper White cardstock, and I cut it in half. So this is 8.5 by 5.5, and that's what the back part of our card is going to be made out of. And then we take the 5.5 by 8.5 and cut out a 5 by 5 sheet piece of paper out of it. Now, what we need to do is cut that hole out of the center, and I want to show you my trick. You can, if you have the square dies, cut it out using a square die, but I don't have square dies, so I use my trimmer. So I want a 1-inch border all the way around my 5.5 by 5.5 piece of paper. So what I do is I put it on my 1-inch mark out here, and then keep my finger under there. I don't want to poke the hole in it too quickly, but let me lower the table here a little bit. Sorry if the camera shakes a little, but I needed to lower it. So on my trimmer, I want to put my cutting blade right here, this center at the 1 inch mark. So I'm going to take it, push that in, and I'm going to bring it down to the 4.5 inch mark. All right, and then I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to do the same thing. Go over to my 1 inch space, bring my cutting blade to the 1 inch mark, bring it down, slice it down to 4.5 inches. Bring it up, turn it. We're going to do the third side the same way. Bring it up to the 1 inch mark, bring it down, slice it to the 4.5 inch mark, and then our last side, one inch, down to the 4.5. There we go. All right, so that gives you a 1 inch border all the way around. And that's your frame for the outside of your card. So this is 5.5 by 5.5, 1 inch border. Okay, so that's the outside frame. And then hold on to your little scraps, because we're going to stamp out our little guys and color them in. All right, so then we're going to take our 8.5 by 5.5 inch base, and we're going to score this. What we're doing is creating a accordion fold on the two ends. So you're going to take it and put it in the 8.5 inch side by 5.5 inch, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch. Okay, and if you don't have a scoreboard, just take your ruler, mark it off at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. And that's how you're going to do your accordion fold. Then we're going to turn the base around again and do the same thing at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. All right. And then we can get rid of the scoreboard, because that's all the scoring that we're going to do. All right, so then you're going to take and fold the accordions. All right, and then once you've got that folded, that's your base. That's basically how it's going to be put together. You're going to have your base and then your frame, and we're going to attach that, and that's how the card's made. All right, so let's set that aside. Let's get our stamp set out. And I'm just gonna do one of the little animals for you. I'm gonna do this cute little seal. Show you how we do that. I'm gonna use my Memento black ink. I'm gonna get him stamped down here. And I always put the lid back on my ink, because if I don't, I've got ink all over the place. So I wanna try to avoid that. So I want that to dry just a little bit. And I chose him because he's going to be the least amount of coloring that we need to do. All right, so with our little seal here, let's do his hat first. And I'm going to choose to use my Highland Heather Stampin' Blend markers. I'm going to use the dark and the light. And I'm not going to use it so much to blend, but his hat, if you can see his hat there, it's got sections, so I want to use 2 different colors. So I'm going to do the dark. Just color in his little stripes. And then the light. And I like this, the Stampin' Blend markers, they've got, one side is the thin and then the other side is the brush. I truly like the brush one side the best. And I guess it's because when I was younger I did a little bit of painting, and it just feels more natural to get my color on the paper that way. All right, so after we've done his hat, I'm going to do a little itty bitty Rocco Rose, the light Rocco Rose, and just a little touch on his nose. Just that, that's it. And then I'm going to take my Balmy Blue, my light Balmy Blue, and I'm going to highlight. Now what I like about the seal is, see all these little dots and lines? That's where you want your darker colors to be. So I'm going to leave him pretty much white, but I'm going to highlight him in my light Balmy Blue. So I'm going to color in his tail a little bit. And then I'm just going to lay some color over those dots. I'm going to color in his flippers. And then right here on his belly, because he's going to be sliding around on a piece of ice, I'm just going to shade that in just a little bit. All right. Now that doesn't look too natural. So what I like to do is when I'm doing something and I'm just using one color like that, especially on something that I really want to leave white, I take my my color lifter and I go over the color. So it doesn't take all the color away, but it kind of lifts away some of that color so that it blends more with the white. So that's what I'm going to do, especially here on the little shaded area for his little belly. And then up here around his face, I'm just going to lift some of that color out of there. All right. There. Now these are alcohol markers, so once the alcohol evaporates, it leaves a very seamless line. All right, so now that we've got our little character colored, and there's quite a few characters in there. I showed you the we're going to be using the penguin, the bunny rabbit, the raccoon, and the seal. I already cut out the characters, but I want to cut out the little seal for you. So let me get my, I have the Cricut one still. I haven't gotten my Stampin' Up die cutting machine yet, but it is on my wish list. So please forgive me, but any die cutting machine that you have works great with all of the Stampin' Up products. All right, so we're going to put the little die right on here. Now what I like to do, I want to get the magnetic mats for them, but since I don't have that yet, what I do is I take a little bit of washi tape, and on the outside of my die, I put it down there so that when you're going to put it through the machine, the die doesn't jump around on the paper. So where you're wanting it to cut, it's actually going to cut. And then you just take it, and put it through your die cutting machine. And there we go. Sammy the seal is cut out. All right. Now I'm just going to take this and set it aside so we can finish putting this card together. All right, so we've got all of our little characters cut out, and we're going to build our scene. I'm going to take my Stampin' Pick tool here because some of these I can't quite get them picked up. All right, so we're going to take the base. That's what we did the accordion folds on. Now the inside square, that's going to be 5.5 by 5.5. So let's move these aside, and we're going to start building our scene. So what I did is I took the, oh, what is this called? The Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. And I liked it because it kind of looked like it was snowing in the sky. And that's what I want for the background of my scene that we're going to be building here. So I'm going to take that and put that down here. I'm going to use my double-sided tape. And just put a couple pieces on here. Now you can use sticky glue, you can use the snail runner, whatever it is you want to do. But I'm using the double-sided tape for other parts of this little project, so I just figured I'm going to use that for my adhesive right now. So, and I always have a hard time getting the white backing off of any of the double-sided tape, so I keep my weeding tool right here. All right, so we're going to put our sky right here at the top of our 5.5 by 5.5, right here in the center, right between our two accordion folds that we did. All right, and that there is our sky. Now, inside of the dies, there's this longer, just a plain kind of squiggle line there. That's to cut your hills out. So what I did was I took a piece of 5.5 by 5.5 and I put my die on there and I cut it in half, and that's how I have my two hills. So I took my ink dauber, where is it? My little ink dauber and some Balmy Blue, and I highlighted it a little bit just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Do that on this other hill here. So we're going to open up our Balmy Blue. All right, hopefully you can still see me. And I'm just going to dab my little dauber in there. And I want to stamp off here, well, kind of thin it out a little bit. You don't want it real dark. See how dark that is? That's too dark. So you get it off as much as you can, and then you just highlight the edges here. Now, this has the little stitched edging on there for the finish, and it gives it a nice little finished look. And there, that gives it a little bit more dimension. All right, again, we're gonna close up this ink pad because if not, I will be sure to stick my hand in it. All right, so now that we've got our highlights on our little hills, let's get our little hills down here. So what I did with the hills, I took my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals and I put them behind it so that it brings it up a little bit, because you want to give it as much dimension as possible. So let's get them on here. And I used quite a few of them because I didn't want them flopping it, or you know, falling in on the scene there. So let's get a bunch of them on here. And now, one of the tricks that I learned from Lisa's Stamp Studio, she's another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. She uses her Take Your Pick tool to get all the little backings off here. And I just thought that was great, so I've started doing that, because just like those white tape, the backings on the white tape, I have a hard time getting them to always come up. Oh, well, this one was already starting to lift, so I cheated on that one. But you just get in there and you pop them right off. All right. And then we're going to take this little hill. Now, he's the bigger of the two hills that I cut out. And we're going to set him right in there. And see how it's starting to take shape? And then we're going to get this hill on here. Now we want this hill to stand up a little bit more. So if you notice, the back, the tip of the back here is going to be on that white paper. You can do this two ways. You can put two Stampin' Up! Dimensionals right up against one another, or just make sure you don't put the one on there, because if not, it'll pull it too close to your other hill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put my Stampin' Up! Dimensionals across the bottom. And now I know that it's about an inch up, so I don't want to go any higher than that because I don't want it to pull back too far on the card. Oh, one more. Okay. Ah, sticking to myself here. All right, now that we got the backs off of our Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, we can get the second hill on there. And see, it's starting to take shape. Now we can take our little critters and get them in there. So what I did was, on my card, we're gonna take and put some decorative paper on the outside of that frame, just to give it a little bit of shine. Now, I don't have the Balmy Blue Glimmer paper, but Stampin' Up! Does sell a Balmy Blue glitter paper that would look really pretty. I just had a white glitter paper that I'm going to use. But I put 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside. So we're going to put the rabbit and the penguin inside. Now remember, you only have a 1-inch border around here, so you want to keep your characters inside of that 1-inch frame that goes all the way around there. So let's get our little rabbit on here. Again, we're going to use our Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. All right, and I want to go in at least 1 inch. Oh, look, I didn't get this little piece popped out by his ears, and I just noticed that. Okay. All right, so I want to go in right about there. All right, and then we're going to put our penguin right here. Now, the penguin, he has a little board that I'm going to put down there too. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue my penguin to the little board before I put it on there. So I'm just going to use some wet glue, and I'm just going to dab a little bit on his feet so he sticks to his board. All right, and then we'll flip that over. We're going to make sure you get a dimensional on the board. And I'm going to put 2 on Mr. Penguin here. We'll call him Polly Penguin. Okay. Put our little penguin so he's going down this hill. There we go. Now I'm just going to make sure, yep, all right, my 1-inch border didn't cover them up, so they're in there good. Now before I do anything else, I'm going to take a couple little rhinestones just to give it a little bit of character in here. I'm just going to take 3 and put 3 rhinestones on these snowflakes. And they say to try to keep odd numbers when you're putting any embellishments on things. And if you're going to use 3, try to make a triangle, and for some reason it's supposed to be more appealing to the eye. So I've been doing that. So I've got these 3 these 3 rhinestones down here. Now we're just going to set this aside and we're going to work on that outside frame. So with the outside frame, I have my glitter paper. And they're each 1 by 5.5 inches. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I want to cut them so they fit together around our frame here. So what I do is I take a pen and I mark 1 inch right there. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom half. I'm going to mark 1 inch. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a 1-inch angle cut right here, right to the corner. And that way we can fit all 4 of them together. Now what I'm going to do, instead of having to mark all 4 of the strips of paper, I'm just going to use that first one as a template. And whenever you're doing that, always stick with the very first one, because there's going to be a hair off here and there, and if you keep moving it down, that hair off is going to get bigger and bigger. So if you're going to use a template and you're going to use your template as part of the card, make sure that you're using the same piece as the template for each section you're cutting. All right. I've got 1 more. All right, so now we're going to put this around the frame. Now you can either use your wet glue, you can use your double-sided tape. Because it's quicker, I'm just going to use the wet glue here on this. Okay. So we're going to get these 4 pieces glued to the outside of the frame. And I just think it gave it a little bit of character. It kind of looks like snow to me. I love the, I love anything shiny. So if I have a chance to put something shiny on my cards, I just think that's really good. All right, now you'll see right here, it doesn't quite match up, but that's okay because we're going to be covering the corners each with something a little bit different. That's why we put 2 of the characters on the outside. And as my niece always says, there's no mistakes in art, just happy accidents. All right, so there we go. See how pretty the frame is? All right, so now we're going to glue Cecil the Seal. Is that what I called him before? I don't know. Cecil was my grandfather's name. It's a family name. Matter of fact, it's my middle name. All right, so we're going to glue Cecil the Seal on to his little ice, and he's going to float right over here on this corner. So I'm going to take some dimensionals and get him attached to that corner. See, it's quicker using the take your pick tool. All right. So he's going to go right there on that corner. And then, what can we call him? Rocky the Raccoon. We're going to put him on this corner. This just truly works so much better for me. He's on that corner. Up in this corner, what I did was I don't know, I think this is a retired punch, but I love it. It's a little snowflake. So you can use anything decorative that you want to use if you have other snowflake punches, or if you have snowflake dies that you want to cut out some little, this is what, about a 3/4 of an inch snowflake. So what I did was I cut 3 of them out of the Balmy Blue cardstock. And then I took my Winka Stella and I colored over them. I got some Winka Stella on there, got them looking nice and shiny. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to put these up in this corner. So I'm going to use my mini dimensionals. Put them right there in the center of these little snowflakes. They work perfect for that. Now the backs on these minis come up so much easier. All right, I'm going to put them up in this corner. And then in this corner, we're going to do our little sentiment. All right, so let me clear some of this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to grab a sip of my coffee. Anybody that knows me knows how I love my coffee. Oh, and I wanted to put a rhinestone in the center of each of these snowflakes. I almost forgot that. All right, so I'm going to put a little rhinestone right there in the center of each of these snowflakes. The more bling, the better. All right, now we're going to do our sentiment for right here. So let's set this frame aside. Look how cute that's coming out. See how pretty? All right, so then I'm going to take, I cut a piece of 1-inch Whisper White cardstock, and I've got our Balmy Blue ink pad here. And let's see. Oh, I was cleaning off my stamp. Let's take Cecil the Seal off. And let's see, which one of these do we? Sending Warmth Your Way. That's the one I want to do today. I want to get this off here. Now, on the take your pick tool, on the inside, see this flat little spatula? When you have your stamps glued down, sometimes you have to just take that little spatula to pull it up, because once you put the sticky sentiment, I don't even know what they're called, label, that's what I call them, the labels. But once you put the sticky label on it, sometimes it gets stuck on, and you don't want to rip that off because there's foam under there to make it softer for when you're doing your stamping. This little spatula tool is great to get them up. All right, so I want to take Sending Warmth Your Way. I'm going to load that up. Now look, had I not checked, when I hit the stamp, I kind of felt that I wasn't straight, and I got ink on the edge there. Now, watch. See, if I stamp that, it's going to leave a halo around that, and I don't want that. So I'm going to wash off that ink, and I'm going to start over again, and I'm going to hold it just a little bit more steady. Got all these little dimensional backings around. All right, so I just want to, there we go. I just want to get the ink on the, oh, now look, I got a little bit more there, but that was just a little bit. I can wipe that off. So I just want the ink on the letters there. All right, so let's get that stamped down. Sending Warmth Your Way, so cute. All right, so I'm going to cut that. And then I'm going to take your Lovely Label, is that what this is called? Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch. And it comes with 2 different labels on here, and you can use a 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, or a full inch to do your label. And what I like to do is I turn it upside down so that I can see that it's straight in here, and I want to use this label here. So I'm going to make sure it's straight. All right, and it does fit in there, but it's still, to me, I like to make sure that it's exactly the way I want it. So, all right. Now this is what, about 2.5, just under 3 inches. So I want to take a piece of the Balmy Blue cardstock and go just over 3 inches, right about here, and make a little backing for it. I'm going to use the same punch, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just not going to stamp this one. I just want to use it to pop up that sentiment a little bit, give it a little bit dimension. See? That looks nice, right? All right, let me get this all cleared away. All right, get this ink closed. Now I'm gonna glue the white piece to the blue piece, but then I'm gonna use my dimensionals to pop it up on the outside of the frame there. All right, so, yeah, that looks nice. All right, then we're going to bring our frame back in here, and I'm going to put the dimensionals on there, so that's right there. All right, now, where did I put those dimensionals? There they are. All right, so I'm going to grab 3 of my dimensionals. Put that right on there. Pop those backs off. Put this up here at the top of my frame. All right, now it's time to finish up our card. All right, so these little accordion folds that we did here, we're going to put our double-sided tape right here, and then we're going to get the frame stuck on there. So I'm going to take my double-sided tape. Now, I want to open up my accordion folds and flip my card upside down, so that I can make sure that I've got my tape right on there just the way that I want it. All right, now the double-sided tape is 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to stick 2 lines of it on there. I'm going to use, oh, got to put it on both sides. Oh, golly. My brain. It's Friday night. You have to forgive me. My brain stops working on Fridays right around 2 o'clock. It says, okay, that's it for the week. You're done. All right. There we go. All right. So we've got it on both sides. I'm going to use my weeding tool here so I can lift the backing off my double-sided tape. I see some of the ladies on YouTube and some of the other demonstrators for Stampin' Up. Man, they just rip the backings off here like it's, you know, no problem. I sit there and I look like a fool kind of, you know, trying to pull it up there. All right, so we've got that on there. Now we want to take our frame and get that stuck. We're going to do the first side. Get it on there nice and even. Now with your double-sided tape, you really only have one chance. It's not like the wet glue where you can maneuver it just a little bit. Your double-sided tape, you gotta get it on there the first time and get it on there well. All right, and then get our second side on here. Make sure it's even. All right. And you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put the acetate. I forgot to put the acetate on there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little cheat for the acetate. Now, the acetate, I usually use the wet glue. Now, that's how I've got it attached here. I don't know if you can see, but I put the wet glue around the edge of the acetate, or around the edge of the hole there in the frame, and then I put the acetate on top of it. What I'm going to do here is I cut my acetate 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 because we've got a 4.5 by 4.5 inch opening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on 2 sides right up against the edge. And then I'm going to slide it in, trying very hard not to slide it up against the frame. And then when I get it in there, I'm going to press it in. That is not the way that I normally do it, but because I forgot to do it, and I don't want to waste this card. He came out awfully cute. So I want to make sure I've got my acetate on there. Okay, there it is. All right. But normally what you do is you take your acetate and you go right around the edge of your frame with your wet glue, put your acetate on top of it, and then you take a little spatula. When you're working your glue, you want to work your glue away from your opening. So you want to press the acetate this way so that the glue spreads out, but not spreads into the opening. And that's what I should have done before I got excited and tried to decorate the outside. But we fixed it, and there we go. So everything is all finished. This is our little shadow box card, and I hope that you had a wonderful time, and I hope that I've inspired you to create something. And if you're down here in Florida, this is going to be a wet weekend, so this is a great time to stay inside and do some crafting. Again, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, please go to my YouTube channel, Crafts by Kathleen, and subscribe so that you know when I upload a video. I do upload the Facebook Live videos to my YouTube, but I also put other videos on my YouTube channel as well. So please go to Crafts by Kathleen and subscribe. And if you're watching this on YouTube already, please don't forget to subscribe and make sure you give me a thumbs up. It helps YouTube notice me just a little bit, and I truly appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.